Well, today's UFO hearing on Capitol Hill has generated a lot of interest from right around the world, with several people testifying, including a former intelligence official who had claimed that the U.S. has either had or currently has possession of intact or partially intact alien vehicles. Joining me now to discuss the latest is one of those people that was at the hearing today, Florida Democratic Congressman Representative Jared Moskowitz. Thanks so much for taking the time. I appreciate it.
No, appreciate the opportunity to talk about this.
So perhaps let's just start out. I mean, whenever you have something like an issue that is getting this amount of coverage, this particular issue is obviously very historic, very unprecedented. How do you stay transparent with the American people while also protecting, classified information?
No, and that's a great question, and that really is the point of today's hearing, right? The point of today's hearing wasn't, to talk about science fiction. It was really to talk about government transparency and wherever that leads, right? And so, at the end of the day is, what does the government know and what aren't they telling the American people when it comes to UAPs and it comes to weapons development programs? And so, at the end of the day, what I think what we need to balance is that national security is tremendously important, but that can't be used as a shield to keep the American people completely in the dark with basic information. We're having pilots who are interacting with these UAPs. These are decorated veterans. These are folks that are flying top U.S. equipment, and they cannot explain what they've seen. The speeds of these UAPs, breaking the sound barrier, the G-force that are involved that a human could not survive based on current technology. I mean, that to me is extremely persuasive. And then we have an intelligence official, and all these people are under oath. And we have an intelligence official telling us basically how these programs are being funded through, basically non-sanctioned programs. And that's something that, some congressional oversight has to assert itself on.
And you mentioned that all of this is under oath, so obviously there is an obligation to be truthful for all of the witnesses. Picking up on that one intelligence official that you were talking about, there was one person who was testifying and was a witness who had said that they had concerns as it related to violence. They had concerns that potentially people can get hurt from this. I guess, how concerning is that to you? And then also, in addition to that, the chairman of the House Subcommittee on National Security had said that they are interested in learning more about this. So is there any way of perhaps legislating any sort of protection to prevent this from, injuring people or what have you, whatever the consequences could be?
Well, yeah, so there is discussion about legislation about whistleblowers when it comes to UAPs to make sure that they get more protection so that people who have this information feel that they can come forward without, immediate retribution or even, retribution in the future as they try to potentially move up the ladder in their agency. And so that's extremely important. I think the next steps, quite frankly, are to get Mr. Grush into a SCIF, into a classified setting, so that he can answer some of the questions he did not want to answer publicly. I think that's one of the next steps that we can take. There's some discussion maybe to request a select committee from the speaker and have the House vote on it to do a select committee on UAPs. That's something that can be a next step. He also submitted all of this information to the Inspector General. And so getting that and being able to read that in a classified setting is also something. So I think right now there is a bipartisan, bicameral effort on this, with Chuck Schumer leading it in the Senate, so that we can finally get more disclosure to the American people while still protecting our national security.
And just lastly here, before you conclude, you mentioned kind of what comes next, potentially forming a select committee. I guess that's kind of my next question here. I mean, we saw there was a select committee on something like January 6th. Do you foresee something similar being able to happen with this? And really, what comes next? This was one hearing that took place. A lot of people tuned in and were watching with, great interest. Also, some people probably scared of what some of the retributions could be of this. So what comes next?
That would be a bold move. If we are able to get a select committee, that would definitely be a bold step, because then we would have a committee dedicated to getting more answers. I would support that if that was presented for a vote. Obviously it's unclear whether that can be accomplished. But right now, again, I mean, you watched that hearing. I mean, that was one of the most nonpartisan hearings we've had, not just in this Congress, but in other Congresses. And so, if you have both parties working together to get to the bottom of an answer, I think the speed in which we can do that will be much different than some other items. So, right now, I think people need to digest this. No one should be scared, of anything. I think we shouldn't be afraid of information. I don't believe that we should intentionally keep the American people in the dark because we have information that might give them anxiety. We should allow this to lead us wherever it goes. If it leads us to confirm that none of this is true, then so be it. But if it leads us to confirm that, yes, UAPs exist and here's what we know, then that's okay also.
All right, we'll leave it there. That's Florida Democratic Congressman Jared Moskowitz. Thanks so much, Congressman.
Thanks, Wyatt. Appreciate it.